feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, yes, it really is me. I don't have my Baylor hat on. I had my class this morning. I forgot the hat. And I look at myself. I said, my gosh, I'm getting bald. Oh, well, it's part of it. Today we have Josh in the controls there as Taylor does his things or whatnot. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How are you?
It's a living, you know.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Yes, we have Jeff Kelly here, the Wethington agency. He's going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about Burleson. We're going to talk about that bond election a little bit, see how it affects the real estate business here. We're going to talk about what's going on with the rates, because I thought they would come down, but he just told me, not so fast. What's that, Lee Corso? Not so fast.
Not so fast.
Yeah, well, that's what he just told me. And so I thought, my gosh, I thought the rates were coming down, but not so much. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. You know, Burleson's still pretty much booming. Alex Phillips was on here commenting about, last week, one of the shows about how fast this county's growing. It's not growing as fast as Kaufman County, apparently, but we're still booming along. And it's just going to get even more so.
Yep, lots of growing pains.
You getting a lot of business outside the Burleson city limits, too?
Well, you know, my specialty is really the kind of rural and suburban anyway, so I do a lot of that.
Okay, so we'll talk all about that. I want to run through the sponsors so they can get their publicity for bringing this to y'all's attention. Thank you, Otto, at our place and at Genus. Have you been to Genus?
I have a body built by Genus.
A body built by Genus. Yeah, I go there about 2-3 times a month, and I go to our place about at least a couple times a month.
Have you been there for karaoke yet?
Not yet, but I know he's promoting that.
Put it on your bucket list.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
I can't sing for crap. I mean, so, you know, I don't know if Otto would really want me there to drive out to customers. But I know that on Sunday nights they have live music. They had Reagan James on last Sunday, and Susie Morgan plays there consistently.
Right.
And so it's a lot of fun.
Right.
And I also like it. You go there maybe in the mid-afternoon. It's a little quieter. You can have a pizza, have a beer, watch the ball game or whatever, or watch sports.
He has nailed it with the acoustics in there, so the music and everything that's going on. A lot of these places just blow you out the door. But
Right, and I've commented on that to him before, how I appreciate it, that you can have a conversation.
Right.
Same with Wild Cigar, for that matter.
Yep.
Wild Cigar is a place you can go and have a conversation. You can have a drink, have a cigar, watch the game, whatever, and not be blown out. It's not a sports bar, but they do a lot of college football related promotions. They also have a big deal coming up on the 25th of this month with a national or international cigar manufacturers debuting a new brand or new line.
I saw that.
Yeah, well, that's a big deal.
Yep.
I mean, because apparently I'm not a cigar aficionado to the point where I can recognize names, but Chris and Nathan will run over there. It really struck me how much like it was like the wine industry. People just know labels. Well, the same thing with cigars.
Right. Any kind of brand, everybody knows their brand.
Yeah, and they get a lot of requests and whatnot.
Yep.
And so run on over there and check it out. It's a good way. I don't know if watching the Cowboys is worth it anymore, but they do have the Cowboys on, and it might be a good place to drown your sorrows. I don't know.
That could be it. One of my real estate idols, I guess you'd call it, a podcast that I watch regularly. They had a remote one here a few months ago, and I think he's from Connecticut, and the other guy was from California somewhere. They met up here in the Metroplex, and they picked Wild Cigar as a place to do their remote podcast.
Well, they do have a studio
cool.
there. I don't mention it around Taylor but they do have a little studio. They have a conference room and such, and so there you go.
I thought that was cool.
Well, it's a very nice place. It's probably the nicest bar in Burleson.
Yep.
Also, thank you to our friends over at come on, Josh. There it is, Southern Gym. They're back with us again. Southern Gym's getting ready for Christmas, and it's a lot's going on as always at Christmas time. My wife is telling me that they got special plans for like little mini events, shall we say? To not just to bring the customers out there, of course, but also just to enjoy, the shopping experience, if you will. Maybe a little. What I like about it, also, this is kind of funny. What I like is they try to cater to the men as well. They have a little bullpen area you could sit in and have a Dr. Pepper or a beer or a
big TV over there.
Shot of tequila, whatever you like. I mean, and there you go. There's Taylor. Our studio has amazing remote capabilities. Yeah, I told you if I mentioned that, he would bring it up. But yes, they do. And we did that remote capabilities. That is true. About 10 days ago, we did that mass nonprofit group. Yeah. And it was beautiful. Well done. So yes, Taylor, you're the king of the remotes and the studio. It's all good. All right. No one's going anywhere. Relax. Anyway, thank you, Southern Gin. Thank you, Gayla, for what y'all are doing. Also, thank you to Old Pro Roofing, 817-734-2756. I'll get you John Williams. Even though it doesn't seem like it, weather's coming. Oh, come on, Taylor. We've produced several multi-million view viral clips recently. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. Mine, I don't think is among those, but that's fine. Anyway, John Williams will tell you, the weather will turn on you here in Texas, of course. And if your roof isn't prepared for bad weather, cold weather, whatever, you'll find out the hard way that you need some repairs done.
Right. And
with the insurance, you probably know about that too, I'm sure. You don't, as an agent, you don't deal with the insurance side that often, do you?
Where we run into it is it either slowing down or completely blowing up. Real estate deals, because the inspector goes out, says, hey, you need to get a roofer out to look at this roof. Roofer comes out, we probably need to do something with it. Adjuster kills it. And then now what do we do? The buyer, you can't buy a house. You can't finance a house with a bad roof because you can't get insurance for it.
Right.
And it just, it can.
Do you have somebody in particular you go to? Because I have somebody that in my networking group.
A couple of people.
Right.
I try to recommend about 3 people.
Right. Well, I have some of my networking group, a young lady named Sydney Milstead with the Converse Agency, and they are brokers. They do about 30 different agencies, so I'm throwing her a shout out for her. And she could tell you all about this. Like tomorrow, we have her B&I meeting. John's part of it. This young lady's part of it. And they'll tell you dealing with insurance has gotten to be really, really sticky. Same thing with our friends at Camco Mortgage. Probably Candy Gow and Senator Campbell. Candy's part of the group, and she'll tell you that there's nothing will blow up your deal more than a bad roof.
Right.
And that's what happened to my daughter about 5 years ago. She and her, then husband, were going to buy a house, and the roof was an issue. And before they could buy it, the roof had to be repaired.
Right.
And so they slapped a few shingles on it. Oops. I'll get that later. Something just dropped out of my pocket. Anyway, so they basically, that could be a problem. So call John, and he'll tell you what's the truth about your roof. It needs repairs. It doesn't need repairs. There you go. Also, we got you coming up, so I'm gonna zoom by you real quick because you usually come on after Old Pro. So we're gonna have you on all your ads in a minute. But also, Local Life Magazine, it's come out. They had the best of the BTX Brew Fest. I believe Hard 8 won that one, and I had Tiffany on last week, and they got this big business with the Halloween pub crawl. Josh, it should be in the bullpen somewhere. Can you find that particular ad about the Halloween pub crawl?
You got it right here.
All right, throw it up there if you would, buddy. There it is. He's almost getting as good as Taylor, if that's possible.
Almost. Not there yet.
Yeah.
You're fixing to get another text.
Yeah, well, it's fine. He keeps him out of trouble. Anyway, October 26th, that Saturday, they're having a pub crawl in Old Town, and you get on the QR code and you buy a $25 ticket or a $30 or $50 ticket, and the $50 ticket gets you all this swag and other stuff with it, and they're going to have all these events. You buy the ticket and go to Texas Bar, Fresco's,
all the watering holes.
All the watering holes. That lumberyard, I haven't been there before, but I hear it's very entertaining for like if you want to go there and watch a ball game, whatever. Right. So you got that going on. So give it a shot. All right. Yeah, I think that's it for the ad run. Yeah, it is. So let's talk about real estate. You hear things about the real estate industry nationwide. Do those apply to Burleson?
Yes and no. Real estate is so hyper local that it can really change within a few blocks a lot of times. But before price points and different things, it can change really rapidly. And you'll hear the doom and gloom on CNBC or some of those, but around here, mostly in Texas and for sure in our little area, we're kind of rocking and rolling around here. Is it right after COVID when we had that little land rush? It's not that, but it's not 2008 either.
Well, yeah, but 2008, everybody remembers that. It's kind of like I don't know. It was a defining moment here. I'm having a little bit of issue with my phone, so I'll let you talk some more.
Okay.
What about Burleson in this area, greater Burleson area, if you will? What is it so attractive to the people that keep them coming here, even if the rates are a little high or whatever else?
It's still safe to live here. We've still got good schools, and we've got stuff. I mean, you can go do anything here.
Right. That wasn't always the case.
Right.
How long have you lived here?
I moved here in 1998. There was a McDonald's and Ponchos out there on the highway, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you used to have the old joke, if you saw the EMT out there, you knew it was fajita night at Ponchos,
yeah.
So
Having leftovers.
Yeah, right. It was. I've been at Ponchos more than once, and I the thing is, I like El Phoenix. I like El Phoenix for that kind of Mexican food. I like Fresco's for its kind of food. And Rio Mambo's pretty good too. But, but you also have Antonio's, Miranda's. I'm throwing all these shout outs. The old timers remember those, and I've eaten at all of those. But you're right. Back in there, when I moved here in '91, we didn't have even those things, and we had a very nasty Golden Corral, and Jose's, which wasn't very good, and on and on and on. And now you get all these amenities. I'm sure that's part of your sales pitch, I guess, when somebody's looking here. Yeah, you're not going to have to go to Fort Worth all the time, like you did before.
And we've got some of the best mom and pops too here. In addition to all the chain stuff, we've got some quality mom and pop stuff here as well.
Yeah, I tell you what, you moved in around '98. You said,
right?
I remember '98 roughly is when Chili's and On the Border and all that stuff on the highway was starting being built, and people thought that was great, but that's also Fort Worth,
right?
And I think it inspired us, if you will, to start building restaurants on the other side of the highway. We started getting Olive Garden and all that, but we also wanted them in Johnson County, Burleson.
Sure.
And once we altered the liquor laws back in 2009, I believe,
right,
it allowed for liquor by the drink and all that. That's when Fresco's came in. That's when all these other restaurants came in, and I think it's great because we don't go to Fort Worth as often, nearly as often as we used to.
Unless you just want a change of scenery, you can pretty well get it done here.
And so somebody's moving in. Well, first of all, most of your clients that are moving in here, are they from DFW or roughly, or are they from out of state?
It's probably a little bit of both.
All right.
We still do a lot of people that move here from other parts of the country. This Fort Worth, this area is the first place west of any size. So I run across people from my stomping ground, Levelland, Lubbock, out that way, eastern New Mexico, that came here for whatever reason and have settled here, and places like Weatherford and that.
Well, that's another town that's like Burleson, just blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting because Fort Worth is now, I believe, the 13th largest city in the country, and it's going to be the 12th probably in another 2 or 3 years at the rate of growth.
Nothing to really slow it down.
And it's like when I was a kid, Fort Worth might as well have been on Mars. Right. I grew up in Collin County, and it's like we never went to Fort Worth for anything. Right. I think the first time I ever went to Fort Worth by myself was 18 to see a Rush concert, that kind of thing. And so it wasn't like anything there. And now it's huge and is expanding everywhere. And Burleson's gotten the beneficiary of that because they're right on the highway. Right, you can get to downtown Fort Worth, 15 minutes? I also, this is a side note, I have a friend in my Sunday school class that's a real estate guy, and he says he works for Zillow, and all his clients he's assigned they're from California.
Right.
Are you getting that?
Oh, yeah.
So they're moving. Are they moving out here because of jobs, or are they moving out here to get the heck out of California?
Right after or as COVID was going on, the people that I met were getting away from that.
I would think so.
And all the locals kind of cussed them a little bit. It's like, we don't want to come in here changing, turning us into California. Those people were not. I mean, they were escaping that.
That's what he said. That this isn't. It isn't like what happened in my hometown of Plano.
Right.
When I moved there as a kid, my dad moved there when I was 12. When I graduated 6 years later, we went from a town of 15,000 to 100,000, and we couldn't keep up. And a lot of it was a lot of Yankees, moving down because a lot of it had to do for economic reasons. The companies were shutting down there, or a lot of them were transferring down to Texas, and we had tons of people from the New York area and Detroit, and all this other stuff, and they were different, and they'd bellyache about the heat or the food or whatever, and all that. And a lot of us, we had bumper stickers as happiness is sin, one Yankee carrying one under each arm, heading back north.
Right.
You know, because they did want to change things.
Right.
But what he's telling me and what you're telling me is they came here to get away from all that junk.
Right. And many of them went back. You know, they just couldn't take the heat. They couldn't take the cultural changes and things like that. And
Or they moved to Austin, where it's not really, Austin's kind of its own little planet.
Little California.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the heat I could see. I mean, even as old timers, even as natives, it's a struggle through August and September sometimes. But what I was told by another real estate agent I know, you probably know her, Tamara Lattiger.
Oh yeah.
All right, yeah. And so Tamara is saying she gets clients from out of state, and they're moving to Texas for a reason. And and part of the reason is they can do business here,
Right.
without as much hassle. And the as far as the cultural climate, you know, it's not off the charts, you know, left wing business and all that. Even though some might think so, that's not really. I don't think that's the case. But anyway, they think they can live here with less hassle, and that's what I'm sure your clients are talking about. And also the fact they could sell their little bitty house for $1 million and buy a nice big one here, right?
Live pretty good on just their equity. And a lot of people did that, cashed out, and now they don't have house payments. And, you know, we'll just stay in the house in July and August and come out in October.
Right. Well,
except for this year.
Yeah, I guess so. So when they're coming here, though, you're selling the Burleson area. What do you tell them about this area? That say, as opposed to say, their choices may be Keller or Saginaw. What do you say? Well, this is your better choice. What do you tell them?
You know, I was actually in Keller yesterday and was quickly reminded why I don't live there, or do I want to live there. And maybe that's what we've got to look forward to in a few years. But, you know, one thing that appealed to me was moving from little old Levelland, population 13,809 when I left. I was terrified at the thought of moving to Fort Worth. And really, I was kind of working there, and it would have been better. But then we got over here, and we rented a little house over here, a block west or north or whatever direction that is, of Summercrest. And from there, it was just like a little small town. But, you know, drive 5 miles up 174, and you could be anywhere in just a few minutes. So you kind of had the best of both worlds.
Right.
And so it's easy for me to kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of minister that to other people.
Well, what I would notice every time I go in that area, Keller, Saginaw, mid-cities, is traffic is a beating. You know, and it's just, I would not want to live up there. To tell you the truth, I like it down here. But traffic is going to be more of a problem here. I talked yesterday with Mr. Fletcher, or Mayor Fletcher, about that, and we're going to bring that topic up in a minute. But it's that's an outgrowth of all this expansion we've been doing. Pardon, I got some Twix cookie crumb. No, I had a little Twix before the show. There you go. Anyway, as far as though they come down here, they don't know much about Burleson. They heard maybe something. They saw something on Google. They did some inspections. So what do you tell them? Said, this is why you want to come here.
If I get the opportunity to meet somebody and can get them, either I get in their car or they get in my car, and I just turn into a tour guide. Let's go look at this. Let's go look at Old Town. Let's go look at this little area. And, you know, here's the schools, and here's what's going on with the schools. And really just kind of acclimate them to everything and things that it took me a year or so to figure out, you know.
Yeah. As far as, you know, if they came on a Saturday, particularly in the spring or the fall, they'd see a town that has active things going on. You know, at that plaza, you know, we did the Brew Fest a week ago, and Saturday, and then you got, you know, also that pub crawl I mentioned earlier with Tiffany's. She's handling all that, and on, and those kind of activities. You don't get that in a lot of communities.
Not really. I mean, we had dinner at the little chop house over there in Mansfield in their downtown area.
Yeah.
And while that's a nice restaurant and there's a couple of spots down there, that Old Town area is nothing like we have here. And I don't know that they'll ever catch up. And maybe that's not their thing to have that. But.
Well, I think it's becoming a thing because Crowley's doing the same thing here, trying to anyway, along Main Street. You know, I may or may not know this, but Otto is putting up a restaurant about a mile from here, right?
Right, where the Chicken Express was.
Right. It's going to be like a miniature version, like a to-go version of our place.
Right.
But they're trying. I know exactly what you're talking about because my daughter lives near there, and she likes that Twisted Root hamburger joint over there. And so I've been there with her a couple of times, and they're trying to create that kind of synergy, if you will.
Right.
But Old Town, what Alex tells me and what others that are involved in this tell me, other communities are coming to Burleson to check them out to see how they're doing it.
Right.
Crowley, like I mentioned, is trying to do it. Cleburne's trying to do it.
Right.
I think the only other community I could think of in this general area that has something like that going on would be Granbury, maybe. But
yeah, they've always had a pretty strong little square down there.
But but almost all of these that have the county seats have an advantage. And Burleson, not being the county seat, they've built this up themselves.
Right.
And so that it's, I've been told by more than one person that little Old Town area gets a lot of looks from potential businesses, and not just restaurants, but they seem to collect there. So there you are.
And just like Lost Oak Winery, every time I've been out there, you run into people, and it's not a bunch of Burleson, Johnson County people out there hanging out drinking wine. They're from all over the place.
You're right.
Because of the reputation it has.
Well, and it's become a good place to do business overall. I mentioned about Southern Jim. My wife works there, right? And she says they got people coming in from Granbury. They got people coming in from like Hillsborough or Weatherford, or it's not just this little area of the county. It's become known, and so you tell them about the business opportunities when they have kids. You tell them about the schools, I imagine.
Right.
What if they don't have kids? Did you still tell them about the schools?
When you get ready to resell this house in a few years, chances are you're going to sell it to somebody that does have kids. So even though you don't discount it.
Well, I would also, I'm sure you bring this up too, I would probably add, this house is going to appreciate because the schools and the police are two of the biggest draws here.
Right.
And so when you want to resell this house, even if you're selling it to another empty nester, you want to have good schools just for the quality of your community and the quality of your economy.
Right.
If you have poor schools, businesses won't move here.
Right. Yeah, because they want, I don't want to say educated people, but they want, quality people to work for them.
Exactly. No, you could say that.
Yeah.
They don't want a bunch of bums. They want people that are decently educated and trained to know how to work, hopefully, and whatnot. And Burleson schools, here's the thing about Burleson or any school district that's pretty good is that when you live in the district and you're working like I did, you're so focused on room 123 that you think this is the craziest place I've ever seen.
Yep.
But then when you step away from it like I have, you see the bigger picture of it. You see there's a lot of good stuff going on. I haven't had BISD on the show yet, but I hope to probably after Christmas because, you get around the holiday time, you can't, everybody's too busy, and particularly end of a semester. But what you have, you step away, you look at it from a distance, you could say, wow, we got this, this game theory school there and all that. You got that CTE program that's so fantastic. You got schools of choice. You got, 2 high schools that specialize in some things that they didn't even bother teaching when we were kids.
In the 80s when I was growing up, man, you better go to college, and now all of a sudden, man, maybe that's not the best path for people.
Well, I know plumbers and mechanics and electricians make a lot more money than I ever have.
And if you need one of those trade people right now, you better have your act together. You better know 2 or 3 to get one because they're all busy. Anybody that can do anything that will show up.
Well, you also have that early college program. And then we're talking about the Burleson Opportunity Fund, which I have in my pocket. Your contribution. I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. Glad to do it.
And it was, it was a great event last week when we had the breakfast, but it's people like you that make it work. I mean, if the donors of this community make this work, and I know for a fact, since I teach these guys, how much difference it makes. I mentioned my friend Tamara. Her son goes on a BOF, met him there, and how much money that's saving that family is a lot. It's not just because it's paying for it, but it's also the alternatives are expensive.
Right.
So give you a public shout out for your contribution. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
John Williams also at Old Pro contributed as well, and Otto contributed as well. So 3 of the sponsors were very, very good about it. I know that that's what I like about my sponsors. They're all involved in these kind of civic activities. I know the Wild Cigar has donated a lot of items to these various nonprofits. And that's another thing. I don't know if you bring it up that often or if they bring it up that often. They may not need nonprofits in their life personally, but they should know that they're coming to a community of a lot of giving people.
Right.
And that really makes a difference. You probably have to put the mic a little bit closer because you're cutting out if you're
better?
That's better, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, we have all these nonprofits, and that's indicative of the kind of community we have.
Mm-hmm. And
you could tell them, said, you're coming to a community where people take care of the community.
Right, and they're giving back.
Mm-hmm. Right. There we go. And it isn't like, I don't know, other communities I'm sure have it. I mean, I know Crowley House of Hope does a lot of good work, and they're about a block from here, and I've had her on their show, Elizabeth Becker, more than once. But I'm just saying that I'm sitting in this seat and I'm talking to all these various people, and then you can talk about the police situation.
Right.
All right. We have very good police. We have, issues, crime like everybody else does, but I think we have a very responsive police force.
I do too. And they're nice people. So many of these police forces, and I know that what they go through on a daily basis and all that, and it's hard to not get jaded to people and, but these people around here, you see them pulled over on the side of the road changing tires for people.
I've seen
that. You just don't see that in a lot of cities.
Well, I have Colin Gregory on some with, he's a community resource officer, and they talk about the Victims Assistance Program.
Right.
And, a number you can dial, not just if something serious like an assault or whatever, you're being abused or what, you could get help for that. But also if you don't know where to go for, necessities of life. And the police are quite often one of the first users of that victim assistance, in the sense that they would say, well, I just ran into a situation. This person doesn't have any electricity or whatever else, so what can we do? And they'll call Stephanie Beard or use that app and take care of that. And see, a lot of communities don't have that.
Right.
And that's a great thing. I don't know when Colin will be on again, probably in about a month. I have him on about once every 3 to 5 weeks, roughly. Depends on the schedule. But that's another great thing. You can tell your clients or potential clients, hey, you're going to have a community where the police are proactive and not just out there handing out tickets.
Right.
Of course, I don't know how anybody speeds in this town. The traffic.
They could probably sell a book, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's there's a lot to offer in this town, right? How have the rates affected what you're doing?
It's basically just slowed everything down. We went through COVID and the 2.5% and the 3% people. I mean, if you just, didn't like the color of your carpet anymore, well, let's move. It's so, a lot of people moving just for the fun of it. And now it's just not that way anymore.
I can't see anything fun about moving. Because we had our house and redesign done in our house in June. And so about 3+ weeks, it was like living in a camp or something. I didn't care for it at all. And I don't want to pack all that junk up. We've accumulated. I've been in the same house since '91, and I think I'm in pretty good shape. I'm right outside the city limits. I live what old timers call Hogan's Acres.
Okay,
right. And the schools are real good nearby, and all this other stuff. And so why would I want to leave? Right.
That's what everybody's looking for.
Mm-hmm. I've been told by some of your peers that I could sell the house for a decent amount, but it's like, yeah, but would I be able to replace that house? Because I didn't prepare you for this question, but here's something off the topic anyway, a little bit. I'm not going to ask you all about your political leanings and all this, but what do you think about Kamala Harris's idea of giving first-home buyers $25,000
It's going to make houses cost $25,000 more dollars.
Okay, that's what I thought. I want to make sure, because that's what I've been saying. I thought it was a terrible idea.
Yep.
Because it is, and she's talking about want to build 3,000 new houses, or 3 million rather. Sorry, 3 million new houses. You know why it's not going to happen? Is because all the regulations that many communities put on house or home building or apartment building, particularly in our home state, California. Right. There's no city that is more hostile to home building than our hometown of San Francisco. And so how is that going to happen?
Just development around here. It takes forever. I mean, it's just so much bureaucracy involved in it, and it's expensive. I've got a builder that we're doing a project down in Alvarado, and we're going to be $75,000 hard cost in a 2-acre lot. You know, with the infrastructure cost and all that, and that's making it worse. You know, everybody wants. It's driving up the cost of housing. This the development cost. I mean, it takes months to get a building permit. A lot of times.
Is that here in Burleson? And we're supposed to be in Texas, supposed to be more friendly to that kind of thing. I mean, I read anyway. I don't hear about it, but I read like in the Wall Street Journal, whatever, how just impossible it is in Seattle, Denver, San Francisco, L.A., you know, a lot of the blue cities, if you will. It is to build anything.
Right.
You know, it takes years to get a development. And even if you have a business-friendly climate, it's still going to take several months.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're familiar with Rocky Bransom's development. I was at the Next Step Women's Center's gala last Thursday. I was sitting with Justin Bond, which is his, you know Justin?
Yes.
Okay. And we were talking about that. I said, hey, how's that coming along? Because they've been working on it for a couple of years, and he just rolled his eyes like, my gosh, I don't know if I'll ever get it off the ground. I mean, it's going to happen, but it's like, it's so many details. Like, you think you finally got through a batch of details, and boom, here comes a whole
Here
bunch
comes something
more.
else.
Yeah, and he says it's just one thing after another, trying just to move dirt.
This little Alvarado project, and we only have to deal with the county. You know, the county commissioners. We don't have the city to deal with. You know, but we started on that 2021, and we're not building, we're mowing out there. You know, just because it takes forever with water and electricity and all the things that you have to bring out there. And we rocked along on that one, and the water supplier out there said, well, we're going to need you to run about 4 miles of 8-inch pipe from our water tower over here. And we don't need it for you, but we'll need it for the future. And if you don't want to do that, we'll you know, go do something else. So we had to change horses midstream and go in and drill water wells, you know, because it was going to be more.
Well, I mean, that 4 miles of even small pipe is
millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's what I figured. You know, and that's what Rocky and his company apparently are going through, is just one thing after another like that. And so I thought when I first heard Ms. Harris bring that up, I said, that's the dumbest idea, because it's not. You're stimulating demand when the supply is the problem. Right.
Which they don't understand that. They need to help these developers in these cities with infrastructure. You know, and these cities are not trying to be hard to get along with. You know, it's not their fault it takes 2 months to get a building permit. There's just not enough bodies for all the inspections and all the things that go along with building permits.
Well, you're right. And you don't want to just have willy-nilly building going on and that kind of stuff, and have it controlled and all that. But it kind of bugs me a little bit at the national level that the very administration that has put numerous strings on development and, you know, urban sprawl, as they call it, and all this other stuff, are trying to claim to be friends of the home builders and home buyers, and that's just not happening.
Well, there's a lot more voters that are home buyers than there are home builders, I guess, developers.
Yeah, well,
and that's probably the motivation behind that.
Do you sell mostly new builds or all kinds?
All kinds. I do mostly listings, but a lot of the buyers, more than half every year, are new construction, because they're, you know, they do the rate buy downs, and they do some things that really the resale market can't compete with in certain price ranges.
You're right. Well, like that big development that's out on Renfro, it's near my house, a Hunter's Estate or something like that. Yeah. But, I have not gone through there, but I'm sure it's okay. But are those homes going to appreciate in value, because they are built in a hurry, and they're probably not built with probably with the basic specs, and that's about it.
The concept of production builders, I mean, they've been around forever. They're just a lot bigger now. But I mean, you know, even like Bloomfield, John Houston, all these guys are in that production builder category. They've just figured out a way to almost automate it. They know within a few nails and a few 2x4s what it takes to build a 1458 model. And they've just gotten super efficient out there. And I remember going out there, and you look, and on either side of a street, maybe there's 50 or 60 houses, and all they're doing this week is just pouring slabs. Right. And then the next week, here come the framers, and they'll make the circle. And that's the part of it they figured out. It's not that they're built any cheaper or with lower grade components or whatever. They've just really, Henry Forded it is what they've done. You know?
Have you seen that massive 3D printer that prints houses? I'm like, holy cow! I heard about 3D printer making houses, and I'm still thinking, the printers, this. How are you talking about? It's a massive thing,
Right?
And all this other stuff. I don't know if I would want that, but for myself, but but those houses, do they retain their value? Because I've heard conflicting messages, and I don't know.
I think that they probably do. They're built by D.R. Horton. He's a national builder, all over the place, and they've got it figured out. You look at neighborhoods like the Keswick Gardens behind Walmart. For instance, when I moved here in '98, there was a big billboard out on the freeway that said homes from the 89,000s.
Yeah, right.
And you can't really touch anything under 300 there. And it's the exact same type of house. It's a starter, no frills house.
When I moved out here, the big development was the Meadows,
Right.
which is Taylor area elementary, and they started homes from 66,000,
Right.
and now they're very nice. Oak Valley, was there's about 3 streets, and they were older smaller homes, and then boom, in the 90s, they had a whole development that's out there now, and then of course when they opened up Hidden Creek, that added to it a lot, and there's a lot of bigger homes, but so. It just, but Texas, even with all the restrictions you just mentioned, it's still got to be more builder friendly than say California.
Oh, absolutely.
Or Illinois.
Well,
or
and we've got
Colorado.
so much more land here.
Yeah, that does help.
Yeah.
But as far as you also deal with like townhomes, condominiums, things of that nature.
I've done a couple of those. That's not real big here.
Right.
I wish it was. Things like that could help to solve our first-time homebuyer problem.
It could.
That we're having out here in the suburbs. But people move out here because they want a house with a yard and, all that. They don't want to live.
Well, also a townhome would be good for something like my parents.
Right.
And because they live out in Corsicana, and they had a decent-sized house, and they downsized because of their health and, whatnot. They're in their 80s, and they don't need all that house and whatnot and all that. But I just thought it would be really good to have, like, some townhomes here for that kind of buyer, that kind of thing, who doesn't really, they've done the yard routine. They're good now. They want to spend their golden years traveling or, going to, Windstar or whatever they do. He's spending Social Security money.
The Bransoms built some townhomes over there in that development. I forget that street. But anyway, they did real well with that.
Yeah.
The brand new townhomes. And
Is it near HEB?
No, it's the other one, the one they originally started in, and the name of it escapes me right now. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. And I do know also they built those small units behind Aldi. And what I was told, they were originally going to sell them, and then they said, no, we can make more money renting them.
Built to rent.
Yeah. And boy, rent in Burleson, that's a problem. That really is. Median
rent is $2,093.
And you have it right there. You have your facts. You have other facts for us, do you? What you? I don't want to waste your homework, so tell us what you got there.
The biggest surprise, the median list price, $423,000 median. But it's only down 2% over last year. I was afraid this year was going to be the year that as the inventory grew, we'd start seeing the prices really come down, and that's not that low considering what a hockey stick we were on before. It makes sense that it would kind of level off and come down a little bit. Average days on market went up 30% over this same time last year, so it's taking longer. Inventory is up 64%, so almost 2/3 more houses than we had this time last year, but yet the values are holding on.
It's interesting, though. I couldn't be a real estate agent, for one thing, because there's so many factors outside of your control.
Right.
All right. Yeah. And then, national policy, interest rates, what's going on in other states, yada, yada, yada. It just seems to me a very stressful way to make a living.
Right.
And a lot of people, I talk to others and they'll say, well, I might retire and sell real estate, and just start shaking my head because they think selling real estate is you just open up and say, hey, people come and say, I want to buy your house. So, okay, good.
Yeah,
where's the check? It isn't like that at all, is it?
No, it's nothing like that. And unfortunately, these real estate schools don't teach you any of that. They teach you how to pass a test, and then you think you've got your little shingle hung out, and life's going to be good. And
people are just going to line up to hire you, and because I knew a couple of teacher friends they said they're going to retire or get out of teaching and become real estate agents. I'm like,
And teachers do real well in real estate.
well, do they really?
Yep.
Well, okay, because I guess they're used to doing homework or whatever. But
Right.
I'm surprised the median value is that high because
Yeah, that's. I was thinking more like in the mid to, 360, 365, somewhere in there. But I checked it this morning.
does that include like the ETJ, so to speak, the extraterritorial?
This is actually
jurisdiction?
Burleson, Texas 76028.
Okay, but would that include my house? Because I'm not.
It should.
But I'm right outside the city limits.
Right. But you're on. What are you on? Half acre over there?
About 0.8.
Okay. So that's going to be a little different than the the neighborhoods here in town. They're kind of in a class by themselves. But as a median, it will add to that.
Well, when we first moved here in '91, they didn't have a lot of options in the city itself, and I was going finishing my third year at BISD, my first year at BHS, and I thought, okay, I'm going to make this. This is going to be where I'm going to plant my flag, so to speak. I'm going to because I had thought first couple of years I'd teach at BISD, and then I'd go back to Plano or my hometown or whatever. But after 3 years here, particularly teaching the classes I did, I said, no, this is going to be it for me. And I wanted to live in the town that I taught in. But there really wasn't a lot to choose from.
Right. There's nothing here.
Yeah, there's very few homes that really met my wife's specifications, I assure you. We looked in the Cliffs, a couple of times.
Right.
And those are, built in the 70s, I guess. And he still had like avocado green cabinets and orange shag carpet and all this other stuff going on.
8-foot ceilings.
Yeah. It was, and then our agent took us out and said, well, you need to come see what's out in the country. And we built, we found a piece of property and we built on it.
That's one of my favorite neighborhoods out there.
It's a good neighborhood.
Yep.
It's a stable neighborhood. I mean, we've had people move in and out, but it's quiet and everything. And like I said, it's within walking distance of Stribling. It's a little longer walk to the new Kerr Middle School, but it's right there, and then Centennial right there, and so I feel pretty lucky.
And it's just far enough away from 35 down Renfro that you can kind of get a little bit of a country or small town feel, but you're not out in the Tules.
Yeah, right. But a lot of development's going on out there because I don't drive the back roads all the time, but it seems like when I do, there's always houses there I didn't see before.
It's busy all the way to 917.
Boy,
still.
is it, yes. Oh, yeah. We were talking about that yesterday with the mayor about road expansion. And they're going to expand it all the way out there, and it's going to be highly inconvenient when it does, but it has to happen because, go back to the traffic, okay? And I mentioned earlier, and you said you saw the show about the Johnson County bond. Josh, will you throw that up on the screen if you would? Does this traffic situation in our area of the county, at least, does it impact your ability to sell homes?
I think it does because, traffic is a big concern here. And there's ways to, take the back road here and there, but even the back roads are crazy.
Yeah, it's 714. It's the one I use to get to HEB. And I thought I was, some secret passage. Now everybody knows it, of course.
It's another expressway for sure. Hidden Creek, is bad. But even like Alsbury and 174, holy smokes, it's just it's going to slow things down. It's going to make not everybody wants to move into that.
Well,
so
do people actually decline to move to Burleson because of it?
I don't know that I've ever had one personally, but I've had people in the car with me like, man, that aren't from here. I remember my mother came in. We moved one time in 2007 or 8, whenever it was, and we were at the intersection of John Jones and Wilshire, and she's like, "How many people live in this little town?"
Yeah,
right. It looked like something in Manhattan.
Oh yeah,
down that part of town.
And they thought when they built Chisholm Trail that would take some of the pressure off, and it hasn't, because Cleburne and Josh are going pretty quickly too.
Right.
And you come on a Saturday, but at noontime, the traffic going east on
it's as bad as rush hour.
It's worse sometimes. I mean, it's backed up to the next light.
Yep.
So I do what I can to get around it, but from what the mayor says, what Victoria's told me, we're going in for a big batch of road repair,
right,
and maybe some new construction, and it's going to be pretty inconvenient getting around.
Right.
And the mayor's talking about how they want to widen Wilshire all the way to Hewlin. All right. You know, that's not going to happen overnight. So, and then they want to widen Renfro all the way to 917. Now, a lot of this is done with state money and federal grants and whatever. So, people listen to this. It's not all coming out of our own pockets. Some of it is.
But if the county's not ready, they're going to move on to somewhere that is, from the research that I've done.
Yeah. Well, they'll move further away from Burleson. You know, people I know people that said, wow, Burleson's gotten too big for me. So they moved to Grandview.
Right.
What's happening to Grandview? You know, I think, or what's happening to Godly, same thing, you know, and, you know, I don't hear about Alvarado as much. Is it growing much? Why is Alvarado getting bypassed? I don't
know.
You know, it's right on the highway too.
I don't want to throw rocks at Alvarado, but maybe it's the school system and the lack of infrastructure there that they just don't have yet. Because you know, from what's happened to Grandview, they've just gone on down the road to there. But Grandview has done better because you could go out there and buy land.
Right.
You know, if you want to build a house in 20 acres, that's the closest place in now that you could go to do that. But it looks to me like Alvarado is sitting perfect because it's right there off 35. That, you know, even though you have to go up and down 35, it's better than coming across one of these little farm roads or, you know, like coming up from Joshua.
Yeah. Or 917 is getting more and more difficult to navigate.
And dangerous.
Dangerous is right. And so this county bond is going to be on the ballot in November. And honestly, I didn't know about it until a week ago yesterday when Victoria told me about it. You know, when I contacted her the day before, said, here, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about these things. She said, I want to talk about the bond. And I thought she was talking about a city bond. I said, no, it's a Johnson County bond. And she explained, she's on the steering committee along with Dan McClendon. And I did not realize they had it. And you said you didn't realize you had it until you saw the show.
I watched the show.
Yeah, and so maybe, you go see the benefit of listening and watching Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Yep. But it just, you know, I was really kind of surprised. And and she was talking about it, and I invite y'all to listen to the show. I invite y'all to listen to the mayor's show yesterday about how important it was to be prepared in your presentation, if you will. Not just, you know, I don't mean presentation like your fancy slideshows, but I'm talking about if you've done the groundwork already, you're going to be a lot more eligible for state and national matching funds.
That's what I meant a while ago.
Yeah.
And if you're not, there's plenty of people that are.
You betcha. They said Parker County in particular has shown them how to do it. And, you know, with Weatherford growing like it is. So that's why I've been promoting it. On Friday, I'm going to have Chris Bedecker and Victoria on, and we're going to promote it some more. And we'll talk about it all the way through because it's really necessary. There's also another ballot option we were talking about yesterday with the mayor, and that's the possibility of liquor stores coming to Burleson. Do you think that'll affect real estate here at all, one way or the other?
It just... That's one more thing that's going to attract businesses to come here. And everybody needs to remember, and I'm not preaching, but, you know, nobody wants to pay as much property taxes as we're paying right now. You know who else pays property taxes? Our businesses. We get sales tax rebates. That does things around here. Everybody knows that. But, you know, if these businesses are paying, you know, personal property taxes and property taxes that they pay, it takes some of the burden off of us.
And the employment it'll bring.
Right.
And Mayor and I both talked about this, I mentioned it several times, is the fact that our restaurants now could buy from a different wholesaler, or not a wholesaler, just a different liquor store. You can only buy from the liquor depot, and he's not a wholesaler. Chris and Nathan over at Wild Cigar pay retail prices for their
Same
booze.
price I would pay if I went and bought some.
And if they don't carry it, you're not getting it.
Right.
You know, they don't order for you. And you have to go get it. They don't deliver.
Right.
And so if we had a Total Wine, or something similar to that, it would have some competition, and we
to be able to go buy it from a wholesaler.
Yeah.
You know, let them compete for it now.
Yeah, because, you know, you get the Burleson or the Johnson County, the Tarrant County restaurants, they got all these competitors to buy from. You know, we got Benny Keith there and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Benny Keith plants a flag here or something like that. And you think, well, you know, would it change the character of the town? I remember this argument about 15 years ago when they changed the liquor laws to allow other gas stations to buy or sell beer and wine here in the Johnson County.
Liquor.
Package liquor. Yeah, beer and wine, and also the liquor by the drink, as opposed to having a membership card. There's like, when I moved here, there's like 3 places you can get a drink with your meal if you bought a membership. It's like $5. Mm-hmm. Bill and Marty's, which is long gone. You know, I don't know if you remember that.
Best hush puppies ever.
There you go. You remember. And the Jose's, and there's one other, I think, maybe, but I'm not sure. But that was not a tenable situation. Mm-hmm. But I remember people were very afraid that if we allowed grocery stores to sell beer and wine in the Burleson part, or in Johnson County part of Burleson, it would change the character of the town, and I don't think it has.
Right.
I really don't. I don't. Maybe
that new Specs Liquor right up here on 1187, and that liquor store at the Johnson-Ellis County line down in Venus. They haven't really changed what's going on there.
It's a liquor depot also.
Right.
Same thing.
Yep.
Another, I don't know, bootleg operation. I don't want to call it that, but when you got everybody by that kind of legal, I'll try to put it tactfully. You got them legally over the barrel,
right?
Because of that, and I asked a couple of years ago, what happens if you just decided to ignore that and bring in liquor from other places?
I think they have a name for that.
They call it bootlegging, right? TABC will shut you down. Mm-hmm. I mean, hard. You'd probably be out of business,
right?
So you don't mess around with that. But
yeah, they have more power than the IRS does.
But I guess I look at it from the liquor depot's point of view. Hey,
taking advantage
it's
of
the
law.
law. I'm not cheating anybody. They don't have to buy it. That kind of stuff. But they're making money and all that. So that it is what it is. But I'd like to see something like that here.
I do too.
Now the rumor is, and this is strictly a rumor, is that maybe Specs might reconsider that spot they're building and put it in Johnson County. But now I've heard that from a couple of people, but it just may be chit chat on the social media.
Maybe another place, but really they're in the catbird seat because that it's the closest place to go for Burleson people or
it's yes, and
South Fort Worth even. I mean, if you don't go to the other Specs up there off.
It's Hewlin.
Seminary, not
Seminary.
Mercenary.
Is there? I haven't been that one. I know
Felix.
This one.
Felix Street.
That's $2.
Yeah, $2.
Yeah.
Owned by the same people, but just a different name.
Really? It's owned by the Specs?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. I don't think it'll change the character of the town. A lot of people think if you let it come in, you're going to have these, shabby little liquor stores with bars on the window and all this other stuff. But the way the city's handled it is through zoning and through requirements that they be of a certain size, with a certain type of security and whatever else. And so you're not going to have like what you were describing before, that little, bootleg operation was going on and up near your hometown. You're not going to have, a bunch of these these shabby little liquor dealers that are right outside of town. That's not going to happen.
They can control that.
Yeah. And so I hope it passes. I'm on the record for that. But it's interesting because I haven't seen any promotion for or against it. Not even in social media.
See, when we went through that in my hometown, there was, it was, you had the grassroots guys going out and putting the election together, trying to get it through. Mm-hmm. But there was a ton, just as many people or more that the first time that they tried to do it, the churches and some other people, they got it voted out. Well, and just from letting people know what was going on.
2008, we had an election and it failed narrowly. Mm-hmm. So we did it all over again in 2009 and it passed.
Right.
I don't know how narrowly, but it passed this time. But this is interesting because I do remember the churches, and even my church included, First Baptist. They were opposed to it. Mm-hmm. I mentioned how funny it was before. In the deacons' meetings, the older ones are like, we need to do something about this. And the younger ones said, yeah, we need to pass it. Right. And so we had this generational head knocking going on because, we wanted Chili's in our town and that kind of stuff. But I think most people survived having a Frisco's or a Texas bar. Now, I'm sure, the cops may tell you a story here or there, late night on Saturday night, but that's going
to happen in any town where people gather and, and there's idiots and goofballs that don't know how to behave, but there's a lot more that do.
If we have a few minutes left, let's look at your website. Okay. Josh, you have that? What is the name of the website?
I picked on this one, selling the 817. I have a lot of people say, where do you choose to work? And I finally narrowed it down to, if it's 817 area code, I can probably be a very good resource for you. And if not, I would refer you to somebody that is.
Selling the 817. So
right. Easy to remember.
And so here you have the homes you have sold and are selling.
Right.
So
everything that is on there now, which is not very much, is the active listings.
Okay.
It is plugged into the MLS, so if it's out there for sale, it's on this website. Mm-hmm. If you want to start, a lot of those.
You scroll down a little bit, Josh, and we'll see what else we got here on the page. So we have, there's the homes, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You were telling me about you're selling a lot of mobile homes these days. That surprised me a little bit.
With there's still enough people that want to kind of live out in the country and own a bigger lot, and for, like that little 169.9 house right there, to do that in site built would be almost 3 times what that house is going to cost. And it's now that they're all real estate.
Yeah.
They're not just personal property laying on a lot somewhere. I mean, they're appreciating. Now all of a sudden, you're making payments on something that's actually building equity.
Well, we have 2-3 home builders here, mobile home builders in this community. So I know we have a bunch that, and they're a lot better than what I remember back when I was a kid or young man. They're a lot more. They're a lot nicer, a lot more. They're better built,
right?
And safer.
Most of them they're financed now by Fannie Mae, FHA, VA, and they're picky about what the collateral looks like, how they're set up. I mean, they're just not rolled out there and plugged into the ground somewhere, and like they used to be. There's they're restricted on the way that they're set up, and they're.
Well, you mentioned that the state of Texas has made more demands on the building and placement of these things, and so that's made a difference.
Yeah, they really cracked down about 10 years ago on the setup and the way that they make you do them now is just a lot different.
Well, we're about out of time. Taylor said he has a show coming on at 12 or 1 o'clock rather, and we have to get the heck out of here. Why don't you fill us in the last bit? What would you want potential buyers and homeowners to know about Burleson?
I guess I would say, but whether it's me or somebody else, find yourself a local expert that knows what's going on in the community that they work in. I may get a referral this afternoon. Hey, we've got some friends moving to Frisco. Can you help them? And the answer is absolutely not. I don't even really know how to get to Frisco. Let me get you to somebody that lives there that can help you. Find who you hire matters in real estate. My industry has done a horrible job of letting the public know that we're all the same. And there's so much difference, and not just because I've done it for a long time. I've done a ton of transactions, which means I'm able to foresee problems before they ever even come up. But mostly just get you an expert, somebody that you can trust, that knows what they're talking about. And
in your business, reputation is everything.
Absolutely is.
More than, reputation is important in all fields, of course, but I think with real estate, you're talking about probably the biggest investment anybody ever makes.
Right.
And so you better have somebody that knows the area, knows how to navigate through all the little potholes that always come up, and isn't trying to sell you something more than what you want to buy, because you don't want to oversell somebody. I'm sure you've told people, said, well, your budget won't fit that, and you're not going to mislead them and all that. That makes a big difference.
It does not matter to me which house you buy. It's my job to make sure that basically there's so much emotion in real estate that it's my job to kind of be the logic part of it and to filter you through that before you do something that's more emotional than logical, that could hurt you down the road.
Well, I learn a lot when you come on the show. I really do. I really like talking about what's going on in this town financially. I like it when Alex Phillips comes on the show and all this other information I get. You already started with